Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, technologists. Welcome back to the podcast. Hope you guys are having an amazing week. It is starting to get warmer. I am freaking excited that it's starting to get warmer. Summer is coming. Hate winter. I am done, even though we had a very mild winter in the state of Illinois. And then in my home state of Nevada, they were freaking getting snow. So imagine that. So it is crazy. Hope you guys caught the eclipse yesterday too. That was pretty cool. So, it was pretty dark in my house considering um, just as it was passing through. I was trying to find some old x ray film to see if I could catch it. But of course, that shit is buried in my garage somewhere. So I wasn't about to start looking through all those boxes and everything like that to, get x ray film. But it was cool. I tried to catch it as best as I could. And I think my cousin caught like a really good picture of it that she posted on the family group chat. So it was pretty amazing. So, in today's episode, as I am continuing on just some really good topics, because I am putting together a 3-day live challenge that is called Be the Go To CT Tech. So, I am dropping this challenge on May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So, make sure you follow me on Instagram, watch my stories to get all the important detail off of that. I'll also have details about the challenge in the show notes and how you can sign up for it. I'm going to be packing 3 days for an hour each day with some really good information on how to be the go to CT tech. So I am promoting this 3-day live challenge. There will be a replay to it. And if you're on my email list, I will be sending this out to my email list. So make sure that you sign up for the challenge so you can get on my email list and check it out when it drops live. Okay. So all that information will be at the show notes. Make sure you check that out. All right. So in today's episode, I am going to be talking about becoming a CT expert and where the hell do I start? Yes, that's what we're going to talk about today. So I know because I was a brand new CT tech 21 years ago. I know what it's like to be the new technologist in the department, to not know anything, to not ever have scanned a patient or looked at a CT image. Like I know this, well, probably better than anybody. And I'm pretty sure you experience people, you know it too, right? Being a new technologist can be really scary. It's very overwhelming and you're probably freaked the fuck out. Seriously. It's because there's a lot of dynamics and a lot of moving parts when it comes to CT, and it's really overwhelming because you have to know everything in a short period of time. So you might want to ask yourself, okay, where the hell do I start? That's the whole purpose of this episode, right? So maybe this is your first time looking at a CT machine. Maybe you've worked at another place and you switched jobs and you're still new to the game. Maybe you're a year in and still don't know most of the things that you should know. Wherever you are in your journey, I'm going to give you 5 things in this episode that you can do to become a freaking expert today. Okay. So you're looking at it wherever you are in your training. Most departments will pair you up with a senior CT technologist. So somebody that's either worked there a long time or has a lot of experience, or somebody that's like a super user, the go-to person, whatever that may be, right? So what we always have to remember is that sometimes when you get paired with an experienced tech, a lot of them do have a lot of great knowledge. They were taught well, and some don't. Like, I'm going to give you the pros and cons here, guys, because you and I have both experienced those really good techs and the ones that, I hate to say it, that are really shitty. I mean, I'm going to give you my honest opinion, okay? And the thing is the techs that maybe just do not care. And that's why I mean by shitty techs. The ones that do not care, they're just doing it because it's a job, it's a paycheck, and they don't care about anything because it's just they're going in and making money and going home, okay? I think there is a higher standard to our profession where people love what they do. I love what I do. You know, it's like the other people that have created radiology podcasts like Catheter Jockeys, Collaboration RA. They absolutely love what they do. And it's a good thing because it helps elevate us to a higher level, right? So, some of these technologists may have good experience, some of them may not. What I can tell you as far as takeaways, the ones that have great knowledge and experience, suck all the knowledge and experience out of them. The ones that may not be so great and are the quote unquote button pusher, use that as a tool of what not to do. Okay. That is my take on that. So, how are we going to get you to be that CT expert? Okay. So, the first thing that I say you will want to do is they will want, when they pair you up, they want to go ahead and assess your skill set. So, they want to see where your skill level is. They want to see how much you know, how much you don't know, what you need help on, where you need training at as far as to excel, where you need to train so that you can be up to speed so you can operate that CT scanner on your own, right? So the first thing that they want to do is they want to assess your skill set if you have any. If you're like brand new, starting out, never scanned, never touched a CT machine, then that's where we have to start from ground zero and say, okay, let's put together an action plan so you know exactly what to do, right? So if that's where you are, don't worry, this podcast is for you too. All right. So that is the very first thing. They want to gauge and have an idea of where you need help in your training. Now, the second thing is carry a small notebook or a notebook with you. The reason I say this is because CT is a very complex modality. That's why they call it an advanced modality. So there's a lot of things that are very complex when it comes to our modality and our department, where your brain is consuming so many things. Do you really think that you're going to be able to remember every freaking protocol, every, contrast injection, every slice thickness, or what we do on certain exams? No, your little brain can't handle all that shit. Okay. And we're not going to be expected you to know that, right? So it's important that you carry either a small notebook or a notebook with you. Take lots of notes and ask a ton of questions. Okay. Take an extreme amount of notes. I did that when I was a beginner, and I'll tell you, it's helped me along the way. Of course, I don't need to use it now because I'm 21 years in the business. So I basically can, pick stuff out of my brain or pick somebody else's brain and say, okay, a lot of times I go into that protocol book and say, I forgot how to do X, Y, and Z. What is it that I do again? That's why there's protocol books, in your departments, usually by each scanner, so you know exactly how to execute something. Okay. So make sure you take lots of notes. Ask a ton of questions because you're not going to remember everything, guys. You can't. It's physically impossible. Now, I also mentioned protocol books. Make sure you familiarize yourself with those too. That's going to tell you exactly every protocol on that scanning console on how to execute it, from your starting point to your ending point, your slice thickness, what you're supposed to acquire in that scan, what you're supposed to send to PACS. Those are things that are required because those are policies and procedures in your department. And it's a good resource to look at it and to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing. Let me tell you, when I was a beginner, I had that protocol book next to me. Seriously, like next to me, because I needed to know how to execute every exam. And I wanted to make sure that I did it correctly. And I had the slice thickness correctly and all the incrementations and the contrast injection on how much contrast I was injecting. So all those things are in there. Utilize your protocol books. They're useful and they're a good tool along with writing everything down. You can even do note cards if you want. I knew a tech that I trained with many years ago. She used to carry around note cards. No shit. She did, because it helped her remember and say, okay, I do X, Y, and Z, and helped her become a better technologist. Now, the third thing that I'm going to tell you is make sure when you're in the department, take a look at the scan room. like where you position your patient, you get your scan set up, figure out where all the supplies are, find out where you get all your sheets, all your contrast, all your syringes, stuff to start your IVs, tape, gauze, you name it. Whatever you need in that scan room, and make sure that your scan room is set up correctly. Nothing is more of a pet peeve for me when I cannot find something to set up my patient before the patient arrives. That is a freaking pet peeve of mine. I cannot stand that. Okay. And I cannot stand messy rooms. Okay. So make sure you figure out where all your supplies are, how to set up your scan, learn what the buttons do on the scanner. You know, the up and down, in and out, you know, your laser light, how to zero if you use GE or Toshiba, you know, make sure you know how to ISO center and properly center your patient correctly. I cannot stress that enough, because the last thing you want is a physicist, you know, just coming down on your facility saying that your doses are crazy high and that you're going to get dinged on it. The last thing you want is the state to come in and say, why are your doses so high, and to, you know, issue, you know, like a demerit and fines. Come on. You can't do that. Okay. So make sure that you get familiar with what the buttons do, how to load the contrast injector, you know, make sure you know how much contrast, you know, how to prime it, all that stuff. Just get familiar on how to set up your room, how to make sure you center your patient correctly. Learn how to do all those things, because it'll make you a better tech in the long run. Now, the next thing I can tell you is get familiar with your protocols on the CT console, how to select the correct one, how to set up your scan. That's why your protocol book is so just vital and essential when it comes to this. Okay. Because at the end of the day, we want to execute the best optimal exam for the best patient care and have the correct dose calculated for the exam selected. Okay. So make sure that you know how to execute that. And your protocol book is going to be a useful tool to make sure that you know how to set up your abdomen and pelvis, how to set up your head scan, how to set up, you know, your chest CT to rule out PE. Those are some things that you really need to know, especially when you're starting out, so you can become that expert. And you know what? And then you got it, and you'll master that skill. The more you keep practicing and just you know, reviewing, and the more scans you do, you're going to get better at it. Trust me, you will. Now, the last thing I will tell you, make sure that you get comfortable with flushing all your IVs before you inject contrast. Listen, I work with a tech currently, okay, that does not flush any IVs, hooks up patients to contrast. And yes, this technologist has been doing CT a lot longer than I have, probably 35 plus years. But you know what? It's something that you can't correct, because they've been in the business so long, you just can't correct it. So, what I advise all my new technologists, even technologists that I train currently at my job, when they ask me to, make sure you get comfortable with flushing your IVs. That is a very important thing, because what we're trying to minimize is minimizing contrast extravasations. That's the last thing you want, because those are very potentially dangerous. And essentially, if it doesn't get, you know, remedied, the patient can lose their arm. Okay. And that has happened. So make sure that you really just get comfortable, because it's very important that the IV works, especially when you're power injecting contrast through a vein, because we are injecting a large amount of volume and a high amount of pressure into that vein to push it through the bloodstream. So it's really super important that you get comfortable with that. And you know what? If you're unsure, get another tech to, you know, check your IV. I can't tell you how many of the newer techs that I work with currently at my job, they'll say, hey, can you check an IV for me? Absolutely. And if I feel it's no good, if they say, I don't know, I don't think it's good, and if I flush it's no good, we're not using it. Point blank, 100%. Okay. You can always get help. Don't be afraid to ask for help as well, because those techs on the floor, they are there to help you. They are there to guide you. They are there to make sure that you learn everything that you need to know and to excel to that CT expert and to be successful while you're scanning behind that console, while you're taking care of that patient, while you're communicating with that patient. Be familiar and comfortable doing that. Okay. So I hope these were all helpful tips for you to become that expert. At least it'll get you in the right direction. Now, always, these are some things that I do teach in my coaching program. If you want to know more and learn more on how to become a CT expert, check out my 3-day CT challenge. Make sure you guys check that out. There's a link below in the show notes that will give you 3 live days with me for an hour, and I will give parts of some of the things that I do teach in my coaching program. If you want to dive deeper and get yourself to be just a CT expert, get yourself on board so you can take that CT test, come join my coaching program. It's a 6-month long program where I teach you the A through Z on how to be a successful CT tech and give you all the strategies for the basics. We assess your skill set. We create good, actionable goals so that in 6 months you are ready to take that test. You can take that traveling job. You can sit at any hospital and any scanner and freaking execute the job. Okay. So all that information will be down in the show notes so you can take a look at it and come join my coaching program. The doors to that program are going to open in May. So make sure you get on the action there. Okay. And head on over to Instagram. Give me a follow on Instagram. Come on over to TikTok. Give me a follow on TikTok. So all the links are down below, or send me an email. You got an interesting CT story? Let me know. You need help with something? Let me know. Send me an email. All right. So hopefully this episode was helpful. Thank you so much to all of you that continue to listen. Make sure you like, follow, share the show because it gets out to all those techs that really need it. All right. So thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you guys next week.